Everything that is organic one day returns to dust. It's inevitable. It's science. But what happens when something refuses to obey? What happens when an object, made of the humblest and most perishable matter, defies this law not for a day, not for a year, but for centuries? These are the silent witnesses, consecrated hosts that, for nearly 300 years, have been preserved in the Basilica of San Francesco in Siena, Italy. They have not been treated. They are not hermetically sealed. They are made only of wheat flour and water. According to every scientific law, they should have disintegrated centuries ago. And yet, they are still there. Perfect. This is not a medieval legend. It is an unexplained scientific fact, a permanent miracle that has been examined, analyzed, and studied by skeptical scientists who walked away shaking their heads, unable to find an explanation. Today, I'm not asking you to have faith. I'm asking you to be detectives with me. We'll follow the clues of this mystery, examine the evidence, listen to what science says, and in the end, we'll ask the most unsettling question of all. What, or who, is suspending the laws of nature in Siena? Get ready, because the story of these silent witnesses challenges everything we think we know. Our story begins on a warm summer night in the beautiful city of Siena. It's August 14th, 1730, the eve of the great feast of the Assumption of Mary. The city is alive with excitement, and the faithful are preparing for one of the most important celebrations of the year. In the Basilica of San Francesco, the Franciscan friars have just placed a silver ciborium into the tabernacle. It contains about 350 consecrated hosts, ready for the next day's communion. The church empties, the doors are locked, peace reigns. But that night, the unthinkable happens. Thieves, likely drawn by the value of the silver ciborium, break into the basilica. They force open the tabernacle, steal the sacred container with all its precious contents, and vanish into the darkness. The next morning, the discovery shocks the entire city. This isn't just a robbery, it's a sacrilege. The body of Christ, what Catholics believe is the holiest thing on earth, has been desecrated and stolen. The Archbishop orders public prayers and penitential processions. The whole city prays, weeps, and searches. 2 days pass. Hope begins to fade. Then, on August 17th, a young altar boy, praying in the nearby church of Santa Maria in Provenzano, notices something strange. In a poor alms box, usually used to collect donations for church repairs, he sees something white sticking out. He immediately alerts the priests. The box is opened with trembling hands, and there, amid the dust, cobwebs, and filth, they are found. The consecrated hosts. The thieves, interested only in the silver, had tossed the bread into the first box they saw. The joy in Siena is indescribable. The hosts are gathered with the utmost care, gently cleaned from the dust and carried back in a solemn procession to the Basilica of San Francesco. But now a dilemma arises. What should be done with the sacred particles? Normally they would be consumed. But since they had been desecrated and dirtied, the friars and the archbishop made an unusual decision. They chose to preserve them in a new tabernacle as a perpetual memorial of reparation and thanksgiving for their recovery. They could never have imagined that this decision would be the beginning of one of the longest-lasting and most scientifically baffling miracles in church history. And here, brothers and sisters, history gives way to scientific mystery. To understand the magnitude of what happened, we must remember a simple biological truth. A host is made of unleavened wheat flour and water. Once baked, it is an organic material that degrades quickly. It absorbs humidity, becoming soggy. It's a feast for mold, bacteria, and flour mites. Even when sealed, it usually disintegrates within a few years, sometimes just months. Yet in Siena, time seems to have stopped. Years passed. Decades passed. The friars who witnessed the theft died. Generations came and went, but the sacred hosts remained in their reliquary as if they had just been consecrated, white, flexible, with the unmistakable scent of unleavened bread. In 1780, 50 years after the recovery, the first official inspection was carried out. Result: perfectly preserved. In 1830, 100 years later, same result. In 1880, 150 years later, again, same result. Word of the miracle began to spread. Pilgrims, scientists, curious onlookers, and skeptics started arriving in Siena, and the questions grew louder. Is it a fraud? Are there hidden preservatives? Is this a natural phenomenon we don't understand? The Church, more than anyone, wanted an answer. And so, it decided to subject its silent witnesses to the impartial and rigorous judgment of science. The crucial year is 1914. The Archbishop of Siena authorizes a scientific investigation, the most complete and rigorous ever attempted. The commission is made up of prominent figures: professors of chemistry, hygiene, pharmacy, and theology. These were not men inclined to believe easily. Their task was to examine the hosts using every tool science had at the time. At the head of the scientific section was Professor Ciro Grimaldi, a renowned chemist and director of the Municipal Chemistry Laboratory. His approach was meticulous and uncompromising. What did they discover? The results, published in an official report, were astounding. Microscopic analysis revealed wheat starch in excellent condition. There were no traces of mold, parasites, fungi, or any microorganisms that should have long since consumed the hosts. They tested for the presence of any kind of preservative, antiseptic agents, chemicals, anything that could explain artificial preservation. The result? Absolutely nothing. The hosts were composed solely of wheat flour and water. They were still flexible and fragrant, not hardened or mummified, as one would expect from something that old. But the most striking proof came from a control experiment. The commission took unconsecrated hosts, produced in the same way and from the same period, and sealed them in a container under similar conditions to those of the basilica. 10 years later, in 1924, they opened the container. The control hosts had turned into a gray, sticky, decomposing mass. The hosts of Siena, after nearly 200 years, were still perfect. The conclusion of Professor Grimaldi, a man of science, was both historic and bold. He wrote in his report, "The holy particles of Siena are a classic example of perfect preservation, a singular phenomenon that reverses the natural laws governing the conservation of organic matter. It is a unique fact in the annals of science." Reverses the natural laws. A scientist does not use such words lightly. It means admitting that he is facing an event that his discipline cannot explain. And so here we are, almost 300 years later, with all our technological knowledge, with our advanced science, we still face the same silent enigma of Siena. Subsequent investigations in 1922, 1950, and even today have all confirmed the same impossible fact. The hosts remain incorrupt. So what is the answer? Science, honestly, raises its hands. It can describe the phenomenon, but it cannot explain the cause. It hits a wall, an anomaly that challenges its very foundations. And perhaps that is the point. Perhaps the message of these silent witnesses is not written in the language of chemistry or biology, but in the language of faith. Maybe in an age like ours, so proud of its reason and so skeptical of the supernatural, God wanted to leave a permanent sign. A miracle not as a flash in time, but an event that endures. As if to say, my presence is not an idea, it is not a symbol, it is a reality that can suspend the very laws I myself created. For 3 centuries, these silent witnesses have proclaimed without words the central truth of Catholic faith, the real presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist. They have resisted time, dust, thieves, and skepticism to whisper to us a single, eternal truth. I am with you always, even to the end of the world. The miracle of Siena is not a relic to be admired in a museum. It is a question posed to our present, an invitation to rediscover with awe and gratitude the mystery that unfolds every day on every altar of the world. So the next time you attend Mass, the next time you kneel before the Blessed Sacrament, remember Siena. Remember those silent witnesses that defy science. And perhaps in the silence of your heart, you too will hear their voice. A voice that does not speak of starch or proteins, but of an infinite love that became bread to remain with us. We hope this journey into the heart of one of the most incredible miracles in history has inspired and moved you. If it did, let us know and share this video with someone who might need a sign of hope. And in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. Had you ever heard of this miracle before? What did this story stir in your heart? Thank you for watching. May the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist always be our strength and our peace.